Hey, I'm Julie, Fei-Fan Balzer, and I'm delighted to be here with Susana McDonnell. Hello, Susana.
Hello.
So you may know her better as Lino Cave. I just cannot separate you at all from your Instagram handle. To me, that is your name. And I know it comes out of a happy place, which actually you're in that happy place right now.
Yes, I am. Yep. This is my dormered art studio, and it's sort of got a little cave-like vibe. And I love to do block printing or lino printing, so that's where that name came from.
So I know that obviously lino, which is in your name, like linoleum cutting, but I have to say
hmm
most of the time I see you using Speedy Carve and not linoleum. Have you pretty much switched over from linoleum blocks to the soft pink stuff?
For anything fabric, absolutely. It just really works so much better. I did participate in a print exchange recently through the Printmakers Connect Clubhouse talk channel that a bunch of us printmakers from around the world chat on Thursdays. And I had to do an edition of 34 prints, and I did those in linoleum because they were on paper. So.
And do you use a press for those, or are you hand doing that with like a Baron?
Those ones I actually did by hand with a glass Baron that I made.
Wow. When you say you made the glass Baron, do you mean like you did the glass blowing?
I sure did. That was one thing that I studied in school and did for many years before I was a printmaker. So,
Now, I know that you underwent a recent sort of logo change and update and all that kind of stuff because you were thinking a lot about it. Do you want to talk a little bit about that process, about matching your business to kind of the art that you make?
um, I mean, it's just always nice to have those graphics and be able to tie everything in visually, and for people to be able to sort of like be able to just pick out that it's you immediately. And so I worked with a friend who lives in my neighborhood, and he designed a great logo for me. And I worked with another photographer, and she did some really nice studio you know action shots, and it's just great to have those on hand for whenever you want to be able to describe the process and show it to people in a way that they can understand. So I love having that stuff at the ready. And I noticed you updated your website. I could do with doing the same too. So
Right? I feel like it's a never ending process. It's as they say, it's like painting a bridge. You like once you finish painting the bridge, you got to start at the beginning again because the other part that just that you started with is already a mess. As the same as the old house thing, which I know you also understand. Once you fix one thing in an old house, there's something else to be fixed.
yes, I'm loving your paint project, Julie. I really wanted to paint my house purple, and my husband wasn't kind of getting on board with that. So I'm
Well,
having
see,
feeling a little envious.
you have to start with a more outrageous color to get to the purple. We started with hot pink and worked our way back. So,
Now I know.
yeah. But I
Now
was
I
gonna say,
know.
like, I think your logo is, and all of the sort of redo branding stuff that I see you do is so perfect. Because when I think of your work, and you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, but when I think of you in my head, I think of like meticulous geometric patterns and like, beautiful repeats and like really tiny details and stuff like that. And I feel like your logo reflects that. Do you think that's accurate to the kind of work that you do?
I think it is, and the irony of that logo was that logo is probably one of the first repeat pattern blocks I carved. And if my arm were long enough and I could reach into my drawer and pull it out, it is very crudely carved because I didn't have all the fancy tools. I had not honed my carving technique. I was just using a speedball cutter, and that's it. So if you actually look at that block, which is the basis for my logo, it definitely needs to be recarved. So
But that's such a great thing for people who are either intimidated by stamp carving or who are like sort of at the beginning of their block printing journeys to say like it is a lot more about design, I think, than some of the skills. Like the skills come as you go, but it's really like you come with interesting ideas and good designs, and sort of it doesn't matter that the carving is a little on the cruder side to a certain extent.
Yes, absolutely. And if I printed something with that again, I would still be, it still, looks nice and stuff. And I always say to students, fabric is forgiving. Like the fabric's wrapped around you, it's draped over something. It's not like something on a wall where people are going to stand and look at it straight away and they're going to see each imperfection. Fabric just, it takes on a life of its own. It's used, it's folded. So if there are little, funky things here and there, that's okay.
Now, I know everybody's different. I mean, my personal style is very much about seeing the hand of an artist and really like knowing that it was made by a person. So I actually kind of love some of the imperfections in hand printing, because I feel like, to me, I'm like, ah, I see you, person. You're a real human being who did this by hand and not a machine that made it, or even made it in like a faded way so it kind of looked printed. But like, there's something so nice about knowing that a human being was part of the process.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can take for granted, that you can just order something on Spoonflower or Society 6 or wherever. And it is nice to see, a little, something, a little language that shows that handmade look.
Yeah, I feel like I've always subscribed to that Japanese idea of kintsugi, where they fill the cracks in the pottery with gold to highlight them. Because I think, again, like the things that like are the imperfections are the things that make it interesting. Just like us as people, right? They always say you shouldn't be with somebody who's with you despite your flaws. You should be with somebody who's with you because of your flaws, because they like those weird things about you. And I think that's a lovely way of thinking about the world.
Yep, yep. Perfect is boring.
Yeah. It's true. So one of the things that I thought was really fun about your class is that, first of all, it's actually like three classes in one class, because you do so many different techniques and stuff with it. I was amazed how much stuff you managed to get in to the short period of time. But it really, I feel like you do a real sort of getting people ramped up, through like the background printing process until they get into like the carving process and, sort of finishing and all that kind of stuff, that it's like you sort of trick us into, being a little more careful, a little more exact as we go. And it starts out kind of in a real free flow kind of way.
I was laughing with my husband while I was taping it. I'm like, Julie knows my video is going to be too long. I'm not going to worry about it. But I really wanted to, because the Artful Holiday is for mixed media artists and it's not specifically just for printmakers. I really wanted to give people some options. So, like, if they didn't want to go full on in and buy everything that's needed to have a printmaking setup, they could get the sort of bare essentials and just, sort of dip their toe into it and see if they enjoyed it. And then, so that's why I wanted to create that progression of sort of increasing the complexity of what we were making, so that they would have everything they needed, which they could cherry pick from as they enjoyed. So that was my aim for the class. And
Well, I think it's great. And you're such a clear teacher that I think everybody's going to be successful, which is really the most exciting part too.
I hope so too. I'll be waiting for all you people to post it on Instagram so I can repost.
Now, I have a question. When I asked you to participate, do you have any particular feelings about holidays? Because a lot of people basically said to me, like, listen, I don't really do holidays. I don't really do like holiday art stuff. I don't kind of know what this is. So are you in that camp, or were you like, yay, holidays?
I am mixed, I would say, on that. I make my own Christmas cards. As I said in my intro, this is something that I do. And, but I wanted to make sure that it's accessible for everybody. So I didn't really want to pick on anything particular. I wanted to give people a way to express themselves however they could uh, think of. So I am not a person necessarily that, like, I'll do Christmas maybe, but I'm not. And I guess we do a little Halloween because my 9-year-old wouldn't have it any other way. But it's like, why don't we have more decorations? Um, so I'm not really like that type of person that has stuff for every season. Like I'm not really a decoratey type of person, but I do participate in holidays, but I don't have any particular like religious affiliation or anything. So I just wanted to leave it kind of open ended.
Hmm. I think, one of the things my mother tells me that I named the class incorrectly. She says I shouldn't have called it the artful holiday. I should have called it like the art of celebrating because people have different feelings about celebrating than they do about holidays.
Ah,
Things like that,
interesting.
which is
Well,
an interesting thing, right?
we know your mom is
Always right, which is unfortunate.
yeah.
Don't tell her. Don't tell her. But what I was going to say is, but it is funny that the word holiday has these kind of connotations and the word celebrating, doesn't. And so like celebrations, we're all like, oh, I love a celebration. Holidays, people are like, man, I have to wear an ugly sweater and show up somewhere or whatever it is, or you have forced
Sure.
barbecue fun with someone. So I think like part of my goal in putting the class together has really been about trying to say and trying to help people who I think have these kind of negative or very sort of like in the box feelings about holidays and say like, listen, let's open up to lots of different possibilities of what this could be, of how you can bring some joy to other people through the art that you make or joy to yourself. I mean, hello, I'm stuck in my house. I need some more stuff that makes me feel happy every day, kind of stuff. So I think that is definitely one of the big goals, and I'm hoping that people are gonna feel the love after they see all the fun things that they can make.
I'm excited to see this. You did an awesome job with Carve December, and I think this is going to be great. So I'm looking forward to checking out all these other teachers.
I'm excited. So for people who don't know, Carve December is an annual challenge that I run that's just about carving a stamp every day in December. And Susanna, you run a wonderful printmakers challenge too. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, myself in conjunction with Mindy Schumacher, whose Instagram handle is Folly Some Prints, we run Printer Solstice. So that's kind of like Julie's um, challenge in December, but we do it for more full on prints. So we give, rather than having everybody do it every day, we give a weekly prompt to give them time to like carve, print, and everything and get it up. On Instagram, and there's a dedicated handle account, Printer Solstice, on Instagram, and it's sleeping right now because it's the summer solstice here in the northern hemisphere. I know the southern hemisphere is the winter solstice, but my Aussie friends have said that they appreciate it because they can stay inside in the air conditioning and print when it's roasting hot.
But I think that's also a good point. Like, I think of one of the ways to be successful with Carve December is to keep things small, right? You're
Yep.
talking about making little blocks that are doable in like, 20 minutes or an hour. Like, you're not making a big commitment. I think when I think of Printer Solstice, I think of large blocks and like serious prints, you know what I mean? And stuff like
Yep.
that definitely take like a couple days to carve or a couple hours, you know what I mean? And take you time, or they're multicolor prints. So then that's a much more involved process, especially if you're using block printing ink because you have to wait for things to dry in order to get it there. But I will say I love looking through the images. The people are so talented. It
Yes.
blows my mind.
And every year, new people just like emerge from the woodwork that you'd never heard of before. Like some people might be like, I'm over it. I did it a couple years and now I'm moving on to do whatever my work is. But they just get filled in with these other artists. And I'm like, where did you come from?
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
It is. And I have to say, like, the endless supply of talent is so inspiring to me because it just reminds me, again, we're back to those flaws, the weird things, the unique things. It is the you-ness of each of us, that means that there's so much out there. And I always find that so exciting because it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much more to explore. There's so many more things to do. Everybody has so much imagination. I got to get my imagination running again.
Yep, yep. No, it's incredible. It's a lovely. I'm sure you experience the same with Carb December. It's just a lovely community to be part of. Printmakers are nice folks, and people
Mhm.
are generous and forthcoming. And I'm always amazed at the people who just show up and do it. So,
Mhm. That's awesome.
yeah.
So, last question.
Mhm.
Where do you usually go for your inspiration?
That's a funny thing. I get inspired by my materials and just by doing things. Like, for example, when I was creating this class, I sort of had an idea of what I wanted. I wasn't really sure, and it wasn't synthesizing. I was like, what am I going to do for this class? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And but then just by the act of recording it and actually making it and putting one foot in front of the other, that's how I was able to just to get the ball rolling and allow my idea to come together. So I would say that, like, I like to travel, and I don't know that gain like specific inspiration, but I think just trying to take in art, take in architecture, take in food, take in experiences, colors, um and giving myself a break from art and just receiving it inspires me. But, like, on a very basic level, like, sometimes, like, I'll just take out a piece of fabric and, like, pin it to my table and just look at it and see how it interacts with the light, and just sort of let, like, the idea of what colors to use just come to me based on it. So I take a lot of inspiration from my materials. And sometimes, it might be the block that particular day. I'd be like, oh, I really want to print this block because that block's really fun to print. And, somehow by just taking it out, setting it up, and just looking what I have in front of me, I'll just figure out a way to make the idea work. So
You know what
I don't know.
I was gonna say, what I love so much about what you're saying is that you're so present in your studio time, it sounds like you're not distracted by other stuff. Like, you're there with your materials, you're there with what you've made, you're thinking about even the space you work in, how it interacts. When you talk about like the light on your fabric. And I
Mhm.
think like there is something magical about being present with it, because I think it puts you in that zen state where art and creating become that relaxing, you know, therapeutic thing. And sometimes I find that like if I have a podcast playing or if I have like a movie playing in the background, I am much less present than
Mhm.
I could be, and it does change the experience.
Right. Yes, I agree, and I also guilty of. I like uh true crime and all kinds of, like, I always have something playing I like to have stuff playing in the background a lot that I can mostly listen to and just sort of peek at every once so often. Not the type of show that you really have to sit and watch and enjoy all the cinematography, but I do like having that on in the background. But I think when I'm trying to, like, drum up my, I guess, mojo, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
That would not be what's happening. I would put that on later for when I'm just cranking through printing, which is very repetitive and doesn't, like, once I have my fabric down, my color mixed, my block all inked up, then I'm getting into sort of just like work, it's just like
Yeah.
physical labor printing it all. So then that's when I might put on the
Yeah.
TV shows or whatever.
That's totally the same for me. When I'm like just like cutting the paper or I'm like just like in the carving and I've already mapped out the design and I'm just doing the rote work of it, I just for some reason I can't do the thinking when somebody else is talking,
No, no.
I have to
Mhm,
like just be.
mhm. Yeah, music would be the only thing that would I could have that, won't impact that, so
Got to get that studio playlist going.
that's right. I
So
have
thanks so much, Susanna, for being here today for this little chat and for being a part of the Artful Holiday. I know that people are going to love your lesson and make some really fabulous things.
Well, thanks for inviting me for a second time, Julie. I really appreciate it, and I'm so glad to be a part of it, and I'm really looking forward to the class, so I hope everybody else is. I know because I've seen some of their teachers, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I'm excited.